Welcome to another inspiring episode of Podcast with Sheila, the podcast that is spreading positivity around the world by sharing inspiring life experiences. With me today is Victoria Lenormand. I got the
Correct.
name right. Good.
You did. Thanks.
Yeah. A former police detective, an author, and a holistic health expert who has dedicated her life to helping families break through rigid systems. Through her work with Gemini Directions, she combines resilience, wellness, and justice to empower parents and communities worldwide. As usual, we aim to educate, motivate, and inspire you. So grab your warm drinks and let's get it rolling. Hello, Victoria, and welcome to Podcast with Sheila.
Hello, Sheila, and thank you very much for having me.
It's an honor. So, you've described your journey as one of resilience and transformation. What personal experiences first led you to explore systems breakthrough?
So, first of all, when I was at school, I guess when I was quite young, we were looking at systems at that particular point. We're all part of a system at that particular point. My parents part of an employment system. I'm part of an education system, and then I joined an employment system when I joined the police service. So I was quite young when I did that. I was still 19. Very green, very fresh, and really exploring a whole host of what it is to be a local, supportive, community based police officer. How do I serve? How do I help? Um, Sometimes the system can be really stretched when it comes to having people who are thinking like this, who are looking at a way to serve, who are looking at. I was there for 20 years, so I don't think it was horrendous, but it's very challenging when you create rules and laws to find there's a person that doesn't fit that.
Exactly.
And it happens a lot,
It
more than I
does.
think we realise. So,
Yeah, I'm happy for us to talk about this, especially honing in on the school system,
mm.
which is a few other things I'd like to know about that. So let's go on. You've worked with the justice system as a police detective. How has that background shaped the way you see institutional barriers today?
Yeah, the barriers are very much that we are ourselves individuals, with our own unique sets of skills, our own lens, the way we see the world. And it can be very challenging if you've got a system that just says no, you don't quite fit. In many ways, whether you're applying for a job and you're looking for a system and you're going through that system, you find you don't tick a particular box in that room at that particular point in time, and suddenly that work is not for you. We've got feedback systems, which I think tried to help that, and certainly had that within policing, sort of, after interviews for different departments, to see, you had the opportunity to feed back into it, but it always felt like the too difficult light was coming on. Like there wasn't enough money, or there wasn't enough, and you think, well, I'm an individual. I think I can do this. So why can't we? And that was never answered well for me as an individual. That wasn't answered well for me. It was always, well, we need to give people, and it got more and more the longer in service I was. So as I was leaving, for about the last sort of 10 years before I was leaving, there was a mnemonic for investigation, and I thought we really have gone too far. That the whole point of an investigation is an open mind,
Yeah,
not mnemonic for
yeah,
tick, 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 tick,
yeah,
tick.
yeah.
And this has transferred to a number of our other systems. It may be in very good faith, a very good, an idea of how to possibly meet the majority of people's needs, but it never fails to amaze me just how much we don't accept that won't meet everyone's needs.
Exactly. Exactly. Because I personally I realize there are a lot of systems and laws that have been made that unfortunately some of them may not even be meeting the needs of those who really need it.
Mhm.
If I'm
Yeah,
making sense.
exactly.
Yes.
I read a fabulous book recently by a man called Aaron J. Katakam about Generation Hope. And in it, he talks about universal basic services being the right of people rather than income. And
Yeah.
I thought it's a brilliant concept. I'd love to see it come to fruition because We can look at income support for people as a system. We can look at things like that. But ultimately, what I need as support and what my next door neighbour needs as support are completely different things.
Different. Yeah.
And so the same income to achieve two different levels of support just doesn't work. So we know it's broken, and yet we keep banging our head on this same brick
Yeah.
wall of
Yeah.
these people need less, these people need more. We don't allow for that. And when we faced an autism diagnosis, that was critical. That was an absolutely critical piece.
Do you think systems on its own is a good thing? Is it shaping the whole world?
I think we've
Is
gone
it?
too far. We've gone far too far. We may have had a good idea at some point that, oh, a lot of people seem to need this, and we might be able to give it a more generic approach.
Mhm.
Fair, okay. All the while that's working, but it requires you to go back and review, and we don't do that. We
Yeah.
don't go back and review and
Mhm.
check that it's still working. It worked back in 1970, ergo, it must still work in 2025.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Much
Yeah.
has changed, much has moved on. It desperately needs that review. And if it needs to be far sooner than the time period I've just given it, it needs to be a regular and consistent monitoring to check that it's still meeting need. It needs to be open to the feedback of the people working in the system, nurses, teachers, police officers, grassroots people saying, this isn't working.
Yeah.
Not,
Yeah.
you need to make it work. It
Exactly.
isn't working. These are people.
Yeah.
People, whole people
Yeah.
coming in all their beautiful shapes and sizes with all their individual needs that deserve to be met.
Exactly. I totally agree with you on that. Families often feel powerless when facing rigid structures in education or health. What empowering alternatives do you believe parents can embrace?
So I never expected to home educate. I think the key here is for us it wasn't working. I was banging my head against a very hard brick wall of not being able to get the help and support that my son needed in an education environment. Um, what surprised me most about that was how rigid the system was, that it must be us failing. And then the extent, the levels in which they would go to try and prove that it was you failing as a
Yeah.
parent
Yeah.
rather than the system failing to meet the needs of this very individual child with different needs, slightly different needs. We'd already raised an
Yeah.
older child at that point who happened to fit. And if you fit, it's a bit of a sailing ship, isn't it, at
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
particular point?
Yeah. Yeah.
But all parents need to be outraged if children are left behind.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, it's not just about sailing through, it's about meeting those challenges and saying, now, why aren't we meeting those
Yeah.
particular
Yeah.
things?
Yeah.
Is it really just cost?
I, and I think that a few people are also rigging the system to for their benefit. That's
Hmm.
another thing. Because I recently, just yesterday, I was speaking with my sister, and she had shared a story with me about a friend of hers here in the UK, who is having to do private tuition, taking her child into private tuition because the normal school system is beginning to tag her daughter as HDHD, and
ADHD, yeah.
yeah, and the child isn't that. When the child is home, the child is a perfect child. She doesn't see anything, and it happens that, well, she said she was told that some schools try to put a number of the children in that category because when they do that, they get a lot of funding.
Mm. See, I'm very passionate about fraud like that. It's a
Yes,
field I
yes,
worked in,
yes,
and it
yes,
it does it has the effect of marginalising the people with a genuine need. It's
yes,
probably one of the more harmful things to most of our systems is
yeah,
the fact that there will be people who abuse it. Now, this is true of just about anything in life, isn't it? There will always be people that abuse it, but to target an entire family, or
yeah,
you really need to be fairly sure that
yeah,
that
yeah.
that's exactly what's
It's
happening. That
happening.
someone, but like you say, systems soon learn that
Yeah,
they can achieve greater funding by making certain statements. So it's not just families for benefits and systems for benefits and everything. We're so stretched. And why are we so stretched? I mean, we live in a time of significant abundance. Why are our services as stretched as they
yeah,
are? with cuts and less people and less employees. It's always been strange to me that we can live in such an abundant place with some of the wealthiest people. We talk about them all the time, don't we? They're
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
constantly in the news, and you think,
yeah.
well, how can this imbalance happen to such an extent where? And this is where I become quite passionate about fraud. Is how do it keep people out?
I also think that for me, I think that most of the things we are facing as the people in today's world boils down to morals, where standards have fallen so badly, where people refuse to think of the good of their neighbor or the other person and say, I like to live by the golden rule. And I think somebody had been on this podcast and I shared the diamond rule and asked me, do you know that? And I said no, but I love to live by the golden rule where it says, do unto others what you want others to be doing to you. So if we're all living by that, I think we'll just be doing the right things,
Yeah.
such that the system will work for our good. Even I totally agree that, like you had said earlier, that it needs to be refined. You need to go back and get feedback and make tailor it to suit the right people and all of that, because these things times are changing, everything is changing. What was working maybe 20 years down the line will not be working today. So they need to revisit that, review it, and make the changes. But that aside, there are a few other people, like we have said, that are rigging the system to suit them, which isn't also making it work. And I'm thinking morals and standards are falling so badly that people don't think of their neighbors and will do things to benefit them,
Mm-hmm.
not thinking of the other person. And as I go out these days, I see a lot of homeless people.
Mm-hmm.
You get it, which shouldn't be the case
Yes.
if we are watching out for each other. But obviously, somebody will say you can't help everyone else. That is true, but there are too many people homeless. When you go to the shops, they are out there.
Yes.
And as is we're getting to colder days, they're going to be out there in the cold.
Yeah.
What is the system doing about it?
Mm.
And it all boils down back to morals, where I go, because people are rigging it. The system is so stretched, they don't have enough resources
Mhm.
to cover everybody.
Yeah, exactly. It was a constant tale throughout my service that next year there would be cuts, and the following year there would be more. Then there would be no training. Then there would be that, and I'm thinking, why is the first thing cut? Training, because
Yeah,
training is essential to
yes,
maintain, to keep up, to help those reviews that we've just spoken about. Training is absolutely essential,
yeah,
and yet it's the first thing that gets hit in a budget cut.
yeah,
Is training. I
yeah,
remember I
yeah,
remember receiving certain things on a coaster, an update in law on a coaster in the report writing room, and I thought, oh my gosh, we're training by beer mat now. This is a whole new level of wow. We really have no money. How did this come about? How did this
yeah,
happen? And this was what I say, my personal experience. I have friends and family in other services who echo these things. Teachers I know that are giving their absolute everything,
yeah,
desperately try and get something to work that is showing itself not to be able to. It can't manage. So if we lived in a train culture, we wouldn't be blaming other people for it. We would actually be right training. We need to adjust, reflect, adjust, moved
yeah,
exactly as you've said.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Wow. Your work with Gemini Directions focuses on wellness and justice. Can you explain how these two seemingly different areas connect?
There are areas I think that all connect. And there was a study a little while ago in Guernsey, in the Channel Islands, a place where I used to live, where they were looking at where to start with justice, social justice. Where would they start looking? And education, health, and um,
Wellness.
justice are very, very interlinked. So
Mm,
they are passion topics for me. I like justice that's restorative. It does something. It's active. It's in progress, and lots of people take part to repair the harm. There's
yes.
it's much better than just in you go. We
Yeah,
forget
yeah,
about you for
mm,
a few months,
yeah,
and there's no training. No, they get come back out, repeat, back you go, or longer period of time in prison, and then some training, some understanding, possible rehabilitation. Rehabilitation happens more with longer custodial sentences, but we still give an awful lot of very, very short ones. And you think, does it really need to be a custodial sentence? Would it be better to be working restoratively with
Yeah.
people? Would that be better? It's the same in our education system. We don't work in a restorative thing. We're very much, it's the system says
Yeah. Yeah.
child must at this age be able to do this.
Yes.
No, child is not a robot.
Exactly. Exactly.
Child is
Exactly.
unhappy or unable at this period in time and needs support to be able to do these things. So look at where their strengths are and maybe help them achieve from there. I don't know anybody that grows from their weakness. They tend to grow from their strength. So you develop your weakness by starting with your strength.
Right.
So
Oh my
yeah.
God.
And the
I
same
like
with
that.
health. We're very, very quick to run straight to the doctor. We've created a system that encourages us to go straight to the doctor instead of looking at ourselves and going, maybe some good food, some honey and lemon. What can I do at home
Yeah.
first?
Yeah.
As a
Yeah.
standardized thing, we don't look at our wellness, we look at our sickness.
Mm.
What is it we need to be well first? What's necessary? The lifestyle I was leading at the time, full time work, full time mum, additional needs, extracurricular activities, all the
Mm.
volunteering, it's unsustainable over a period of time. And yet it's come to be expected. Because if you don't volunteer for scouts or for, your rugby clubs or your
Mm.
sports clubs or anything else, then they close and your child can't use them. They can't have access. So
Yeah.
we rely very heavily on volunteers, but it's not really evident in our economy that we count these people.
Yeah. Wow.
Um,
The lifestyle you just echoed over there, that is me. And that is my lifestyle now. And you're talking about wellness. I'm trying this time around to prioritize my health. But it's so difficult because people say, all right, just do what you can do and leave the rest. But I don't know what to leave because everything seemed to be waiting for you to do it.
mhm,
And if you don't do it, if your children need to go to school, they have to go. You can't say today, I don't feel it. I'm sick, I'm tired, I can't. So which one are you leaving?
mhm,
And aside the podcasting, I have another job. If I decide not to work on it, that job is not going to thrive. So which one are you leaving? So it's like every blessed day, my brain is on like power wheels, working and working. And I don't know when it's going to. I try to take some breaks when I can, but I don't know. So when you're talking about health, wellness now, that is where I am totally having it wrong. I
mhm.
don't know how to manage it. I don't know what to do because I know that everything is dependent on something.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
And
We're finding the time when you're this busy
mhm,
as well is to actually pause and say, this isn't going well. So I'm trying to practice what I'm saying, which is
yeah,
we need to reflect. There was a point in my life when I needed to write, this is not working. This is
yeah,
not working.
yeah,
I'm exhausted and catching every bug going around because
yeah,
I'm exhausted. My
yeah,
husband's the same, exhausted and
yeah.
catching. And I'm thinking, how can two strong, competent,
Mhm,
together people
mhm,
actually manage to get this sick? It must be the life we're living that's
yeah.
making us poorly. So, what are we doing? Let's look at our nutrition. It's the first thing we look at our nutrition. Nutrition was a thing for our son as well to
Mhm,
look at to start with, because from the very off, I'm just to be absolutely clear, I'm not suggesting in any way, shape, or form this works for everybody with autism or anything else. But for my son, what I observed, investigated to the end, is
mhm,
his difficulty with his bowel from a very, very young age. Always seemed to have quite an upset stomach. Well, the only thing going in there is food. So, is there something in the food that is aggravating, causing him problems? Well, I couldn't see it. I did the usual thing that parents do: cut out wheat, cut out dairy, cut out those
mhm,
things and see if there's
mhm,
a reaction. Nothing.
mhm,
But a nutritionist was amazing and said, let's start with that gut. Let's start with it and have a little look at detoxing him safely and then check him for these intolerances. Well, they were all there. As soon as we as soon as we cleansed his tummy,
okay.
the intolerances all showed themselves to be
Mhm,
really challenging for him. Without these foods in his tummy, the behaviors that we were finding the most challenging altered. They changed, they shifted, they moved. I had a much calmer child, a much less aggressive, much less aggravated child to be able to meet at that point and support, which was one of the first things we did when we retreated into the home, to treat the home as the space for education, because the educational space was clearly adding to the distress. So as well as it's not that the autism has gone, far from it. It's but I can now get to the child that sits behind it. As a
Yeah. Yeah.
almost like a veil that comes
Yeah.
up in sheer
Yeah.
distress. You
Yeah.
think of a child and all those difficult emotions, they don't know how to manage it or anything else. So it was, for me, that's what I observed. So that's what we tackled. My husband and I tackled it with him. So we did exactly the same eating plan, because I couldn't face eating foods he wasn't allowed to for that period of time, or he could be encouraged to avoid for that period of time. So we all did it. It was the easiest way to support him. Um, and yeah, 6 weeks later, we were in a different space, completely different space. And then with the lockdown on top of everything else, we could see that there wasn't academic issues here. Purely environmental issues. When he arrives at school, it's too overwhelming, too distressing. He can't filter information, or could not filter information. He needed to withdraw, regroup, and see that he's actually a valuable person in his own right, and not this person that was just always wrong. Because
Yeah.
when he was in school, he was always wrong. Now, that does a lot to you, doesn't it? If you
It
think
does.
you're not going to succeed, you
Yeah.
stop trying.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
think it's hopeless, you start to behave like it's hopeless.
Yeah.
So, coming back, reviewing that, coming back, regrouping, it was a great place for us to start. So we changed the diet, we changed the environment, and we changed the way we worked, because they all needed reviewing for our health, for his health,
Mm.
and for his ongoing learning, to be continuing to be supportive of him.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
Yeah. Yeah.
it was just going the wrong way.
Wow. So one thing that keeps coming, hitting me as you're talking is, at every point in your life, just like we've been talking about systems, at every point in your life, take a break, review it, and see what is working, what's not working, how you can get it to work for you,
Yeah.
and then make amends.
We're
In a
all
nutshell.
individuals, and we
Yeah.
don't need to give our power away to these systems that don't see us as individuals. We
Yeah.
need to take it. We need to take it
Yeah.
for ourselves, to say, this is my values here. My son means the world to me. I don't mind if he's got an A in something. I really don't. What I care about is his well-being and his happiness. And is he able to think well of himself? Or does he feel so desperately awful about himself that it's just not worth being here?
Yeah.
That's a terrible position for a young person to be in. And this is headline stuff at the moment, isn't it? The fact that we've got school refusals, we've got our children trying to tell us that something is not working for them, because we haven't had this in history. We
Yeah.
haven't had this in
Yeah.
history. What we've got is a system that hasn't been reviewed and developed over a period of time. It's 200 years old.
Yeah.
Even Sir Ken Robinson talks about how our system can kind of education
Mm.
isn't about discovery. It isn't about how to think. It's about what to think. And
Yeah.
that's a fundamental difference.
Yeah.
Because if you don't think that,
Yeah.
where's the space for you to explore it?
Yeah. Yeah, I remember in my children's school, they would say, at a stage in their school, they have to do a sleepover at school, and I never got it. When my son was in year 5, they said he has to do a sleepover. I said no.
Mm,
Fortunately, my husband said no. They've never slept since they were born. They've never slept out of their bed. So
yes.
I don't see why they should go and sleep in a school. I know that a school is a place where the children come to learn, and that should be it. Why should they be carrying mattresses and duvets and pillows to go and do a sleepover at school? I never understood it. And I said no. And the headmistress didn't get it. They had to bring us into parents' meeting a number of times, and it's good for the children. No,
Mm,
no. Some of these, when I think about it, I don't get some of these things. I don't know why they do it, but if it doesn't sit well with me, I
mm.
won't do it.
You need to have the right to be able to say no. And as
Yeah,
a parent, have your view valued, because it's not for you, your family, or your child at that
yeah,
particular point. It doesn't mean that we want to be excluded. It just means that we're not quite there yet. Thanks
Yeah.
very much, you know. So, and if
Yeah.
the time comes when they are there, you know, great, they'll join in. But for whatever reason, if they're not there at that point, we look at a lot of children with difficulty separating from the parent. You think,
Mm.
you know, that's it's okay. They're not there yet. It doesn't happen by a particular age for all children. There could be a
Yeah.
number of reasons why they're not happy.
Yeah.
By all means explore them, but the key is working together. The key is for us to be working together on these problems, not pitching teachers against parents and parents
Mm, mm,
teachers. They're
mm,
not. I
mm.
think they're all struggling right now.
Yeah.
Everybody's struggling right now, and there's the beginning of compassion for each of us, isn't there? Is that
Yeah.
we're all struggling. My teachers are doing their very best, and and like us in policing, like my friends in nursing, they're meeting a very inflexible system. System says no. It's
Mm.
almost like you know when your computer says no. It's like an error of type. What has occurred here?
Yeah.
How many errors happened before you let me know?
Yeah.
It was,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, it's
Yeah.
we're not computers. We're not robots. We're human, and we are individuals at that.
Exactly. So I think they have to make room for everybody
Mm.
and know that some of us will have to say no.
Yeah. No is a good boundary. It's
Yeah.
taken me a while to understand that it's okay because we kind of expect no to be unwelcome and a no to be questioned. I came from a disciplined service. No is not heard very often.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so, you know, I don't get to say, "Oh, no, thank you. I don't feel like doing that." So,
Mm.
no, that's your
Yeah.
job. Off you go.
Yeah.
And but when our children start to say no, from all innocence, I think we need to hear that and say, "Okay, why is the no coming? What's happening?" It's
Yeah.
normally indicative of something that's making them very uncomfortable. That may be something to work through. It may well be, but it
Yeah.
may not be. It may be something that's genuinely hurting them.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't we wouldn't ignore that in the home. So why would we ignore it in an education environment?
Mhm.
If a child says, "No, thank you, I can't be here, this is too hard,"
Yeah.
um, that it's too noisy, the lights are distracting, I can't stand the sound of that clock, and you want me to play a trumpet in the classroom, and I think I have to leave right now. This is just
Yeah.
appalling.
Yeah.
Because, you know, let's face it, most sort of 7, 8 year olds playing a trumpet, not the most tuneful thing. You're not going to hear,
Yeah.
you know, something classically lovely coming out of
Yeah.
there at
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
point. It's going to
Yeah.
be really harsh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Wow. You've authored transformative pieces on wellness and family empowerment. What core message do you hope resonates most with readers?
You're an individual and you do have the ability to make the changes that you want to be, that you want to see. You do have that ability. I'm not saying it's easy, but it is coming back to your values because if you don't value them, nothing else is going to.
Yeah.
If you're not hurting anyone, if you're a good person and you're leading a good life and you're just trying to do your very best,
Yeah.
yeah, somewhere in there, if the system is not responding, they're missing something that's key and invaluable to you. So come back to that, find your way through. You will be able to do it. Just find some support. There's plenty of people out there for special educational needs. Yes, a lot of them are volunteers. Yes, a lot of them are inundated, but more and more we're finding parents and support groups and that starting to come together to genuinely help each other without judgment because we
Yeah.
know what that's like. We know what that's like.
Yeah. 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 Many parents today feel that the education system is outdated. If you could reimagine education, what would be your top three priorities?
Mm. So Ken Robinson wrote a book, a manifesto to education called Imagine If. Imagine if we listened to the child. Imagine if they had a period of discovery.
Yeah.
Um, because what we've gone from is universities dictating what happens in preschool.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
tiny and
Yeah.
exploring and young. And it's not every child's place. Every child's path is not academia, and we don't
Yeah.
allow for that. So that would be the first thing would be to read his book and adopt it as a manifesto. He's written. This is probably one of the most experienced people in education who's
Yeah.
travelled the world to discover education, who has been pioneering for years to bring a much kinder, more holistic approach. And I do think it needs to be holistic. It needs to be the whole person that's growing in that education environment. And that's way beyond academia. We focus purely on that. So children think they are their grade. That needs destroying as an idea. You are not your grade. This is this is something like a car vehicle test. It's something that happened once
Yeah.
at a point at that time. If you were slightly off, if you misread the question, this is not. This is just standard. This is making mistakes. Mistakes are part of learning,
Yeah.
but your grade is not who you are.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
definitely isn't. It's not. It does not define you.
Mm.
But what defines you is the effort that you put into the things you care about.
Wow.
We need a way of measuring that. I'm trying to work with people at the moment to look at a more modular system of learning so that people that are in home education or alternative education like forest schools or other ways can have some evidence of learning. We're certainly building our own with our son, but
Mm.
I think as a and a general availability to people, we could have a system that sits outside of academia to say this is a person who's learning everything he needs to know through the genre of, I don't know, history, rugby, something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wherever they are, you can meet the child there and make it a more individualistic approach. And I keep hearing how impossible this is, but it really isn't. I know because we've done it. We've done it for our child as an individualistic approach. If we're saying we can't do that in schools, really, why would I send my child somewhere where they can't be treated like an individual? Why
Yeah.
would I? Why would I do that as a caring, loving parent? Why would I do that? I That makes no sense to me now.
Yeah.
While my eldest was thriving and loving it and getting on, I'm very happy to send him there. But if my child isn't, that's perfectly okay. And they don't need to feel that it's their fault in any way, shape, or form. That goes in too young. It's very damaging. I think it's incredibly damaging.
It is. It is. And I think that everybody should, like you say, everybody's individual. Like everybody should be treated just as they are, because we all have individual characteristics, and we should be allowed to flourish within our own selves
Mm,
and not be made to feel when we fall short somewhere, be made to feel we are not better because we probably didn't make the grades. Or
yeah.
when I did my first degree, I can imagine I did my first degree in arts, and when my friends came out, they started working in banking, and somebody will ask, "What is a textile person doing in a banking industry?" They just needed experience, so they
Mm,
didn't learn anything in banking, because in textiles it's all arts and drawing and
mm,
weaving and sewing and mixing of chemicals and dyes and all of that. It has nothing to do in banking. But when
mhm,
they went off to work in the banking industry, they excelled, they rose up into managerial positions and all of that. It's just telling us that the education system is just to reform you, like to build you up. So if
mm,
you cannot do it in a normal classroom setting and you can do that at home, that is all you need,
mhm,
to be able to get some of problem solving skills. And you can do that not by just solving maths, just
mm,
by trying to solve a problem. Something is broken. How do I fix it? You're building your problem solving skills. So
mm.
all of these things are some of the things you should be looking at,
Yeah.
and then encouraging the children to look in that direction. So you may have an art, because some children are art inclined, others are science inclined and maths inclined and all of that. Everybody have their strong
Absolutely.
holds. But the art inclined, I'm an art person.
Mhm,
I only need to see something and then I can remake it. So I need to see a bag that has been made, and I
mhm.
can dismantle it in my head and teach it.
Amazing. That's
So
amazing.
just like you said, so you build on the person's strength.
Absolutely. Because maybe that's what they're here for. So
Yeah.
constantly telling them that they need to do things that they're not here for,
Yeah.
when they, in our experience, when they need to know it, it's a very quick reason for learning it because they need to know it. And down the rabbit hole he goes
Mm.
straight away. There is a math professor I was listening to the other day explaining that ed- most children by the time they hit secondary school here, so about 11, 12 years old, have got basic life math skills that they need for life. So why not change the math lesson availability in secondary schools to be problem solving?
Yeah.
Teach them how to solve problems
Yeah.
that apply to day-to-day life, and then show them the math that underpins it, if you like.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you try to do it the other way round, if you try to do it from math and you're not mathematically inclined, it's just a mystery to you. It remains a mystery that
Yes.
you don't understand to apply that technique to the problem. There's a disconnect, isn't there? And this has been reported far and wide as well, as the disconnect between what I learned at school and what I apply over here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
nothing as a smooth transition, and that's what he was suggesting, and I thought,
Yeah.
bravo,
Yeah.
that's a brilliant idea
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
those children who are more artistic or sporty, or if they've got other gifts, if they've got other gifts beyond maths, fabulous, help them problem solve, because they'll probably be really good at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you didn't use the word math that made them go
Yeah.
you know, for those who go at
Yeah.
maths,
Yeah.
if they don't
Yeah.
go at maths,
Yeah.
brilliant. They're in their
Yeah.
field.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Off you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here's advanced math. Here's higher math for you, because you've got a complete interest in this and you don't want to put it down. Amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow. Wow. Burnout and stress are common for both parents and professionals. What holistic health strategies do you recommend for resilience? I think we've talked about it a little bit, but if you can
Yeah.
go more.
So my first thing, as I said, was to look at food, because everything we did was at speed, including food. Even though I'm the slow cooker queen of the autumn and the winter, of throw it all in and hope magic happens. Come back home later and find it's already cooked my dinner for me. I'm very grateful. But yeah, have a little look. It amazed me how much processed food was such a big part of our lives. That still home cooked, but still, these things that you're trying to grab and run the whole time. Well, your digestive system doesn't respond very well to that. And your gut brain being so connected, I get it. I get it on a different level now. I monitor I have a better understanding that caffeine, enhances my central nervous system, my feelings of stress. It doesn't just make me awake and alert, which is what I was using it for, like everybody else. It actually enhances my central nervous system and helps me feel quite a bit of stress. So taking that out made quite a difference. I had a banging headache, but I wasn't in right relationship with coffee. I wasn't in right relationship with food. I wasn't in the right relationship with work. So when I talk about health and well-being, it's as individual as we all are, that I needed to come back and tweak those things so that I could start somewhere. I started with food. Some people start with their work. Other people start in other places, reducing hours or wherever they are. But I didn't want to wait for a health crisis before we did something. And the writing was on the wall that if we carried on that way, it
Yeah.
was going to be causing a problem.
Yeah.
It's going to cause a problem. So
Yeah.
I came back to cacao. I found it's such a superfood, but a really well processed cacao that is minimally processed. So it's still rich,
Yeah.
dark,
Yeah.
nothing added, and
Mm.
more importantly, nothing taken away. So you've still got all the cacao butter in there. And that works on your cardiovascular system. So you can come right back to yourself in a very different way. Come right back to yourself to calm. So
Mm.
where coffee does this, cacao
Yeah.
does this.
All
And I
right.
wasn't having to take any medication. I wasn't having to do any of that. It was just, so it was gentle enough to use with my son. So he needs it a little bit sweeter. So we blitzed in a banana, and it became his chocolate banana milkshake for, as far as he's concerned. But we went back to really old medicine, cacao. We went back to slow down. We don't have to rush.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
rushing, something's
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
It's taken the last 5 years to really, really work on this. It doesn't happen overnight, and
Yeah.
that's resilience, isn't it? It's like,
Yeah.
just keep going, just keep putting one foot in front of the other, just keep
Yeah.
swimming. All the words we know,
Yeah.
but stay in tune with your own values, your own beliefs, your own needs. And it's
Mm.
okay if they're not everybody else's. That's okay.
Yeah. Oh wow. Wow.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And as you're speaking, I'm trying to relate to
Mm.
everything that you're saying and reminding my I do that a lot these days because as we grow, I can tell that my health is not as good as it used to, because things that I'll just power through easily, I'm not doing that anymore. So I can tell that no. And I'm reminding myself always to take a break, leave everything and go to bed, just sleep and sleep. And as you were talking about coffee, I like coffee a lot.
Mm.
And I have migraines as well a lot. And I have the cocoa, the dark seated in my cupboard, and I never use it. Well, I used to in the winter times because it's cold. I tend to drink a lot of warm drinks, and then I'll go to that. But summer, I've not had any, and I'm thinking, could that be the reason why I keep having headaches? Because I'm taking cocodamol, I'm taking paracetamol, I'm taking, and it goes and comes. And for like the past 2 weeks, it's been on and off with. So I've stopped taking all of these painkillers, doing water, but it's still there. I'm managing it. So as you were talking, I'm thinking probably do the coffee, put the coffee on the side for some time and see how that works.
Give it a couple
Mhm.
of days
Yeah.
and just see if how does your body react? Is it giving you a headache? It's
Mm.
probably contributing to your stress at that
Yeah.
particular point, and it may well be disrupting your sleep. It was certainly
Yeah.
disrupting mine. I
Yeah.
was not in the right relationship with coffee. I was like, "Wake up!"
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's how we know it, isn't it? As
Yeah.
busy, hardworking
Yeah.
parents, that's
Yeah.
how we know coffee is.
Yeah.
Wake up!
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This is hard right now, and keep
Yeah.
going. You then use it afterwards to keep going, and then you're still going when it's time to switch off.
Yeah.
Whereas cacao has different properties,
Mm-hmm.
different ingredients that theobromine has.
Yeah.
It's like a slow release. So you're going
Mm.
to get focus, but it's going to be slow release. You need one, and it will go throughout the whole day.
Mm.
And that was lovely for me. That was really really lovely for me to be able to come back to that and think, yeah. And like you, if I don't want hot drinks in the summer, which is
Mm.
often,
Mm.
then I use it in snacks and in cereals.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I make the cereal
Yeah.
uh, for us. We just grab nuts and gluten free oats and
Yeah.
fruit and make our own cereal, and
Mm.
then we just add cacao to it as
Yeah.
for a little sort of ah, little boost, keep my heart healthy, keep myself feeling calm and together rather than
Yeah.
life's
Wow.
running away with me.
Yeah. Oh, you often speak about system breakthroughs. Could you share a real example of a breakthrough you've witnessed or facilitated?
Oh yeah. I think restorative justice is one of the most powerful tools out there at the moment, and I think that could be a game changer for our criminal justice system.
Mm.
It's very powerful to be able to sit down uh, with with people that have either witnessed criminality or received it against them, or, wrongdoing. It doesn't even need to be
Mhm.
criminality. This would work just as well in schools and does in many, actually. There are schools that have adopted it. This is an ongoing problem. Neighbourhood disputes, the whole thing. We're pitching each other against each other at the moment, and I don't think that's the way. I think if we're community, we're better together, and
Yeah.
in community, when something goes wrong, we sit down and we work it out, and that's what restorative justice is let's see what's gone wrong, let's see why it's gone wrong, and let's look at what we do to repair the harms that are being caused. This is a very powerful tool, and it leaves everybody having part in it. At the moment, our criminal justice system is you don't have to say anything. And
Yeah.
all the way through the process, you don't have to say anything. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to confront this, admit this. You don't have to be part of this process. The process is just going to happen around you.
Mm.
If you don't put the core problem as the central part of the process, how can you resolve it? It's just getting worse. We're wondering why prison population is increasing, and we're getting all these problems. It's when no one's in there at a restorative level. The reasons I've been given is it's expensive, but
Mm.
these are still people, and I don't think that's that's an adequate answer. It's too expensive. There's got to be a way through that.
Exactly. I totally understand and agree with you. Institutions are being questioned more than ever. How can families contribute to reshaping these systems instead of feeling trapped by them?
You actually have a lot more power than you think. I
Yeah.
think as a
Mm.
parent, we're encouraged to consider that we don't actually have it. Well, of course you do. Of course you do. You're not harming your child. You're not. You're working for them, and they would have to have some pretty strong evidence to say that you were harming your child. We're
Mm.
setting up a system. over here at the moment that indicates that it's almost like this core belief that a government is holding, that if you're home educating your child, you're instantly harming them, you're abusing them in some way, shape, or form, and you need greater oversight. You know, we left because we need less regimented oversight.
Yeah.
And wanting to send people into the home to assess what you're doing. No problem showing people what I'm doing, but
Yeah.
do you have to invite everybody into your home if you go to school?
No.
No, you don't. So why would my child's very, very safe place be something he still struggles to have strangers in here? So, people, not strangers, but, friends of ours as well. If they're
Yeah.
friends of ours and he's not met them, they're a stranger to him.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's to him is a stranger in his home.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
think it's fair enough. Yeah, his home is his sanctum. It's his very safe place. So by all means, come in. See, there's plenty of food in the cupboard,
Yeah.
but normally, in the ordinary course of events, you would have to have very, very strong suspicion to go into someone's home and start
Yeah.
making allegations like this. So to just make a blanket allegation because you choose to home educate
Yeah.
without looking at the reasons
Yeah.
as to why you're doing it,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
feels like the sledgehammer nut moment. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, maybe look at why children don't thrive in that environment
Yeah.
and why parents are having to make sacrifices. And it wasn't easy for my husband and I to leave paid employment to
Yeah.
retreat to the home and say, right, let's resolve this. Let's get on this. But he's our child. He's our
Yeah.
responsibility first
Yeah.
and foremost.
Yeah.
And a number of parents do this. A number of
Yeah.
parents do this. So we're not alone.
That's another thing that I find a bit upset with the system, quote and unquote, because sometimes we as parents, it seems like they tend to want to tell us how to do things for our children. And like you rightly said, we love these children, we would never do anything to harm them.
Mm,
So as when I feel this is right for my child, and you question me about it
mhm,
as an adult,
mhm,
what are you trying to tell me?
mhm,
You get it. I heard a story where a woman had to, well, during the school period, said she's taking her child on a 1 week holiday,
mhm,
and the school said no. She had
mhm,
sent a letter, an official letter to the headmistress and all of that. So they were in the knowing and they didn't give approval. And she did it anyway. She took the child out because she said she feels the child is stressed and needed a 1 week off. So she was taking the child on a holiday.
mhm.
And the school said it's against the law. So they were going to fine her £1,000. And she said she wasn't going to pay it. So they had to go to court. I don't know what happened after that. The story, I didn't hear the aftermath of the story. But these are some of the things where you genuinely know that your child needs a break.
Mhm. Could you
And
imagine as a mother that your child is refusing to go to school in home
yeah,
and they're distressed, they're really upset,
yeah,
they're vomiting maybe, because they refuse to get dressed and they refuse to do this in their pajamas, you drag them into school. If you unilaterally decided to do that, I'm pretty sure you'd be getting a fairly swift visit from
yeah,
children's services in some way, shape, or form,
yeah,
social services, children's services.
yeah, yeah,
But we've got schools telling people, drag them in their pajamas if
yeah,
necessary. And you think, we've not looked at it from the converse side of if a parent unilaterally decided to do this, you'd be looking at them for abuse.
of course.
But a school system is doing this exact same thing, and we're not questioning it. When
Mm,
did we stop asking questions? Because they're not welcome, okay?
mm,
Because they're difficult, because they raise issues that we don't really want to face or we feel we can't face. But I think it's incumbent upon us to continue to ask these questions. We
yeah,
need to ask questions. And if it's uncomfortable for the system, it's uncomfortable for the system, but it's not the child's fault, and it's sure as heck not us.
yeah,
We've just ended up in these positions where we've stopped questioning. That would be totally unreasonable in any other setting. Totally unreasonable. You
yeah,
imagine
yeah.
dragging them out. I'm just leaving them here. I'm sorry, I'm a bit worried about this person as a mother. Yes, I can well believe you would be. But you're not worried because I'm dragging them
Yeah,
into school. And then you're worried when I deregister my child from school and
yeah,
say it's not a suitable environment for them and I need to bring them back here so that they can get well
yeah,
because they're now unwell. So I need to bring them back here to get well. Well, you must be abusing them. No, I'm the one caring.
Yeah. Look, yeah, looking ahead, what's your vision for the future of family-centered system in education, health, and justice?
Oh, so my vision for education is very much what is being put out there. There are alternative models cropping up now more than ever, I think, and we signpost a number of people to progressive education models from forest schools to alternative ways of learning online, whatever suits the child. At the moment, we seem to be able to find more around that. There are changes around health that are happening that really excite me, where people are looking at lifestyle. They're looking at what it is to be well
Mm,
first. And they're listening to their bodies saying, no, thank you. That overtime, just not
mm,
worth it. I need to rest. And we're starting to say no, which again, we're looking at our wellness, not our sickness.
mm,
And it's good. I think these are great things. And like I say, for justice, there will always be an extreme, but prison was always intended to be for extreme circumstances, not for school fines and
mm.
TV licenses and things like that.
Definitely.
Just, this is supporting large corporations with financial penalties on the people who can afford it the least.
Mm,
It makes no sense because if you can afford it and you don't mind about £1,000 fine, you just go and do it. You just do it. Um, but this isn't the case with families. They're being punished for putting their child's well-being first.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not, any news report talking about it being a lane. Are you kidding? I've never worked so hard in my life. So
Mm,
it's incredibly difficult to be able to
yeah.
hold a person with additional needs, and they're very quick to tell you that you get no support. You leave the system, you get nothing.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, where is that in the best interests of the child
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
was entitled to everything if they put their bum on a chair in a school environment?
Yeah.
But all of those entitlements disappear when you go into home education.
Yeah. Wow.
Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Feels punishing, feels
Mhm.
punitive for
Yeah.
removing your child at that point. You think, interesting.
Just because they want to have a say in the development of the child. And if you're not going to give them that right, then they do not want to support
Hmm.
in this way.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Wow, that makes it difficult.
Mm.
I really enjoy this. Do you think there's something we're supposed to talk about that we've not touched on yet that you'd like to talk
No,
about?
no, not at all. It's been great to share this with you, and these positive stories that you're putting out there. It's possible. What I'm saying is this kind of transformation is possible. Find a
Mm,
friend or give me a call, and find the person who's going to hold your hand through it
mm,
and help you.
yeah,
And it's not necessarily a paid service or anything else. It's the person that's not judging you is the person that's going to help you through it. And most of all, just be kind to yourself. It's not about you fitting an uncompromising and ill fitting, not working system. It's about you crafting the life that feels really good to you.
yeah. Wow.
And you'll be well.
Yeah.
You'll be happy. You'll be well. Um, and you'll be able to move forward.
Wow. I love that. We would like to say a massive thank you for coming on podcast with Sheila today.
Oh, thank you, Sheila. Thank you for having me. I'm really grateful for it.
Wow, it was lovely having you. If you've been listening in, this is season 2, episode 138 of our podcast series, where we bring seasoned guests with inspiring life stories and experiences to share with us. Don't miss out on all these wonderful experiences. Subscribe and be notified when a new episode is released. Whilst at it, please take a moment to drop us a rating. Our prayer for you this week is that you will become an advocate and a lover of peace. Remember, change begins with you. Until we meet again, have a brilliant evening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.